All right, good morning, and it is now 10:30. We're going to begin the first Assembly Judiciary hearing of our season. I want to welcome members. We do not currently have a quorum, and even though we have not currently adopted rules, we will operate as a subcommittee to move things along, and that's about the best that we can do at this point until we do get a quorum. So let's start hearing bills as a subcommittee. And in sign-in order, I have Melendez and then Vidak, Gatto, and Gonzalez. Ms. Melendez. This is AB 289 on our agenda, which is item 5. So welcome to Judiciary. No, lights off. Lights off. You should be on. I don't either. It's televised, so we really do need the record. Hold on. There we go.
Can you? There
Amazing.
we go.
There we go.
Thank you. Good morning, Mr. Chairman and members of the committee. Nice to see you all this morning. I am here to present AB 289. This is the California Whistleblower Protection Act, which provides protection to state employees in the executive and judicial branches who choose to exercise their right to make a protected disclosure of improper governmental activity. However, unfortunately, the employees of the legislature are not covered under this act specifically, nor do they have a protected process for reporting questionable governmental behavior, which is unfortunate. Every violation of the law by a public official is also a violation of the public's trust, and the legislature does have a responsibility to protect the integrity of the institution by creating an atmosphere of transparency and accountability. So given the proximity that these members have to the legislature, legislative employees do have a unique opportunity to help provide this accountability by reporting any suspicious or unethical behavior. This will not take place, however, if those employees are not afforded protections from intimidation or coercion or even losing their jobs. AB 289 would extend the same protection that other state workers receive under the California Whistleblower Protection Act to the employees of the legislature by establishing the Legislative Employee Whistleblower Protection Act. This act would prohibit retaliation against legislative employees who make protected disclosures of ethics violations. It would also establish a procedure for legislative employees to report acts of retaliation. It would impose civil and criminal liability on a person who engages in retaliatory acts. I will be accepting the committee amendments that further clarify the intent of this bill, Mr. Chairman. I want to thank the committee for all the hard work in helping us to get there so this is palatable for everyone. Here to speak today on behalf of the bill is Philip Ung, and he's the Director of Public Affairs for California Forward. With that, I do respectfully ask for your aye vote. Mr. Ung?
All right, thank you. And members, we do have a mock-up that's in your package of this bill. And we have 5 members here. That is a quorum, correct?
No, we need 6.
Oh, we need 6. So we do have a quorum. So let us establish a quorum first.
Stone.
Here.
Wagner.
Here.
Alejo. Chow. Chu.
Here.
Gallagher.
Here.
Garcia. Here. Holden. Mainshine.
Here.
O'Donnell.
We do have a quorum. All right, your first witness, please.
Thank you, Mr. Stone and members of the committee, and thank you, Ms. Melendez, for bringing forward this bill. And I definitely want to thank the staff for the great work that they did in drafting these amendments, the staff at the committee as well as the staff that work for you who briefed you on this matter, because that's really what this bill is about. It's about the staff who work in this building each and every day, tirelessly and behind the scenes, and this bill would improve and give them added protection that other state workers are provided. Without this protection, I think we've seen the result. Staff have to rely on clairvoyant methods of reporting what they believe are ethical violations or fraud or abuse here in the legislature, whether it be anonymous letters to senators or anonymous meetings, deep throat style with reporters. And that's not really the way that the legislature should be conducting business, especially if it deals with the need for an internal investigation. And so this will allow staff a way to report these violations within the legislature and allow the legislature to deal with it accordingly, and give staff the protection that they feel comfortable working here and not like they work under a house of cards type of rules. And so I hope to have your support, or hope you can support this bill as you did last year. It did receive broad bipartisan unanimous support last year, and we hope that you can encourage your Senate colleagues, who were the ones that killed it last year, to also support it. And so thank you.
Thank you. Other witnesses in support? Seeing none, any witnesses in opposition? You're off.
I'm off to a good start this morning, don't you think? Yeah.
So, okay, the motion is do pass as amended 2 rules, and that is the motion. We do have a motion and a second. Any questions, comments from committee members? All right, seeing none, call the roll, please. Oh, you may close.
Oh, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I have nothing to add other than I do appreciate the support. I think we're all in agreement that we certainly need to make sure that we keep an eye on things here, but in a way that makes sense to everyone. So I'm happy to see that everyone is comfortable with the amendments, and I ask for your aye vote.
Thank you. All right, now call the roll.
Stone?
Aye.
Stone, aye. Wagner?
Aye.
Wagner, aye. Alejo? Chow? Chu?
Aye.
Chu, aye. Gallagher?
Aye.
Gallagher, aye. Garcia? Aye. Garcia, aye. Holden? Mainshine?
Aye.
Mainshine, aye. O'Donnell?
All right, thank you. So your bill is out. Thank you
Thank you,
very
Mr.
much.
Chairman and members of the committee.
All right, now to the business of the committee. Since we do have a quorum, our first item is to adopt the committee rules. I'll take a motion on the rules.
So moved.
We have a motion. Is there a second? Second. We have a motion. We do have a second. And I know we don't have lots of people in the audience, but for committee members, I'd like to make sure that on the bills that we're hearing, we have plenty of good dialogue and conversation about them, and opportunity to ask questions. However, this committee does get impacted with the number of bills that we will see as we move on through the year. So I'm going to, especially as we get crowded, I'm going to ask authors if they have a couple of witnesses, and both for and against a bill. I know we'll have many public comment potential on that. So hopefully authors will. I'm going to give some discretion to authors and discretion to especially public comment when people want to be talking to us, but we'll have to play that by ear as we get impacted hearings and move things along. This committee has been known for robust conversation. That is a really good thing, but we do have our time constraints. So I just wanted to mention that in context of the rules. So if you would then call the roll for the rules for the committee.
Stone?
Aye.
Stone, aye. Wagner?
Aye.
Wagner, aye. Alejo?
Aye.
Alejo, aye. Chow? Chu? Chu, aye. Gallagher?
Aye.
Gallagher, aye. Garcia?
Aye.
Garcia, aye. Holden? Mainshine?
Aye.
Mainshine, aye. O'Donnell?
Great. So that passes. We have our rules and can operate. We do have one item on consent, which is item 7, AB 217. Mr. Mainshine squeaking through with his first bill. And unless anyone would like to pull that item from consent, I see none. I'll take a motion on the consent agenda. We do have a motion. Is there a second? Second. A second on the consent agenda. Call the roll, please.
Stone?
Aye.
Stone, aye. Wagner?
Aye.
Wagner, aye. Alejo?
No, I mean, yes.
Alejo, aye. Chow? Chu?
Aye.
Chu, aye. Gallagher?
Aye.
Gallagher, aye. Garcia?
Aye.
Garcia, aye. Holden? Mainshine?
Aye.
Mainshine, aye. O'Donnell?
That passes. Congratulations, Mr. Mainshine. All right. Back to the business on the file. We have Senator Vidak, which is our item number 6, Senate Joint Resolution 2. Welcome. Please.
Good morning, everybody. Mr. Chair and members, I am pleased to present Senate Joint Resolution 2, which calls on the federal government to reform our broken immigration system. Our current immigration system has not seen any major changes for over 25 years. Patchwork attempts have been attempted to amend its deficiencies, but have failed to address the major problems. Current estimates suggest there are 11 million undocumented immigrants living in the United States. A large number of these families have been living in California for years and call this state their home. This resolution is based upon a similar resolution passed this committee last year with unanimous support. SJR2 received unanimous support on the Senate floor and is broadly supported. With the new congressional session called into session earlier this year, it is important that this legislature call on Congress and the President to work together to reform our immigration system and replace it with one that works. I accept the amendments outlined in the committee analysis as co-authors, and I'd like to make sure that Assemblywoman Gonzalez is also added to the list as a co-author. I ask for your aye vote.
Thank you. Witness in support. All right. Are there any witnesses in?
Joseph Villela, unofficially, we have not sent a letter in support of this particular resolution. On behalf of Chair of the Coalition for Humane Immigrant Rights in Los Angeles, we applaud this resolution, given that at this point all the debate in Congress is around enforcement-only policies, and we welcome this resolution. We call for something that is more proactive. Thank you.
All right. Thank you. Any other witnesses in support? Any witnesses in opposition? All right, I'll bring it back to committee members. Do you have any questions? Mr. Lejo.
More of a comment, Mr. Chairman. First of all, I want to commend Senator Vidak for carrying this resolution. I was the author of the last resolution we did on immigration reform in 2013. It was bipartisan, and I'm very proud that I work with our Republican colleagues, in particular Senator Canella and Assembly members Katya Chaji and Jeff Gorell, among others, who came together, and I think we showed the nation that here in California, on a controversial issue like immigration reform, we can find bipartisan agreement. And I think that's the strongest message we could send through a resolution to our Congress, that we're trying to find agreement, because it is actually hurting our state in a very big way, especially in these rural agricultural areas, not finding any solution. Now over 28 years since our nation passed the last immigration reform, the amnesty of 1986. But I did want to point out that in 2013, when we did the last resolution, for the first time in California history, that bipartisan effort at the beginning of that session ended up with Republicans, 15 of them, doing the first ever Republican-only press conference in support of immigration reform. I thought that was historic, and it was the fruits of legislators here in Sacramento willing to work together to send a strong message that it's time that we find a common sense, comprehensive immigration reform solution. So I commend you. I'd like to be added as a co-author, but I think there's no better group of legislators here in California that could send the strongest message to your colleagues in Congress than our Republican legislators in Sacramento, saying that it's time for us to come with this a solution to immigration reform, provide a path to legalization for so many of our families who are only wanting to work lawfully, continue to contribute to California's economy and make an honest living, and hopefully provide a better future for their children. So I thank you for authoring this reso, and I look to be added as a co-author.
Got it. Ms. Wagner.
Thank you, and thank you, Senator, for bringing this resolution forward. Real quick, there's nothing in here that you would regard or are seeking that we would regard as amnesty, correct?
You know, this is all about keeping families together and pulling people out of shadows. We need something that works here, and that's Congress has to get their act together. The President, they have to work together. This is so important because we cannot break up families, and we have to pull people out of the shadows. I mean, that's what's right. That's what needs to be done.
Understood, and agree, as long as we aren't talking amnesty, and I don't think the bill is. The other point I'd like to make is this is similar to several previous efforts. As I understand it, the idea being to have Congress, in fact, grapple with the issue, come up with some affirmative law, and by that token, we would not need, and as I understand, the Supreme Court's Curtis Wright decision might not, the President might not even have the power to do some of the executive action backdoor amnesty is trying to do. And because I see this as the appropriate way to make legislation and establish and enforce the rules rather than through executive action, I think you're on the right track, and this is very much a supportable bill in my mind. So I commend you for bringing it, or support a resolution, and commend you for bringing it forward. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Mr. Gallagher.
Senator, in looking over your resolution, I think most people agree that we do have a broken immigration system. We have an overly bureaucratic process. So I think most agree that we need to do some comprehensive reform of our immigration system. It's just that where we disagree is in the details of what that actually looks like. But one thing I didn't see in here that I think should be something that's talked about is increasing our border security. Not only from the standpoint of protecting our national security interests, of having a border that's not secure, but also to protect immigrants who oftentimes are taken advantage of by coyotes and having cartels that are very much working across both sides of the border. And we don't have a very secure border with Mexico right now. So I saw that as something that was that's missing from your resolution. Is that something that you plan to include, or is there a reason why?
Well, I think that the whole thing is I'm asking Congress, the new Congress, to get their act together and work with the president so we can actually move forward. And I think it's a powerful message from the state of California, who, we have many of these immigrants here. We need to impress on them. They need to get their act together, and they need to fix this problem, because nothing's happened for 28 years, and that just creates more problems. So,
but isn't increased border security an important part of the whole equation?
Yeah, but this resolution is asking Congress to get their act together. I didn't didn't list. We want people here in California. We don't want their families broken up, and we want Congress to get their act together along with the president.
Okay.
Ms. Garcia.
Yes.
Senator Vairak, thank you for this resolution today. My dad was the beneficiary of the last time we had comprehensive immigration reform, and I'm here in large part because of that. I wanted to thank you for the leadership of, as a Republican, asking your Republican colleagues who have the majority in Congress to move forward with something and exert their power and take that vote there. I also wanted to make sure I got audited on as a co-author.
You bet.
Thank you.
Anything else, colleagues? Mr. Chu?
Mr. Chair, I just want to point out for
Mr. Chu first, Mr. Alejo?
Okay.
No, Mr. Chu, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I also want to thank the Senator for this resolution as a son of immigrants who also would not be here, but for the fact that my parents came during a time when we had better immigration policies. As someone who worked in the U.S. Senate years ago at a time when it wasn't too long ago when there was more ability to work across the aisle to figure out solutions to these issues, and as someone who for 6 years in my San Francisco Board of Supervisors authored similar resolutions supporting comprehensive immigration reform, happy to support this and would be happy if you would like to be added as a co-author.
Mr. Alejo?
I just wanted to provide clarification for Assemblymember Gallagher's previous concern, because on page 3 of the resolution actually points out some statistics that the federal government has spent $18 billion on immigration enforcement, and the number of U.S. Border Patrol agents has doubled. And also, it has, the next paragraph has language about prioritizing deportation on lawbreaking dangerous individuals. So there is language that references his concerns that's included. Comprehensive immigration reform is just that. It's comprehensive, addresses a lot of the concerns that have been debated in Washington, D.C., so I think it is inclusive of border security as well.
All right, thank you. Senator Videk, I would appreciate being added as a co-author as well.
You got it.
If you would do that. Thank you, and you may close.
I ask for your aye vote.
Thank you. And we're still looking for a motion. So we do have a motion and a second. And would you call the roll, please?
Stone?
Aye.
Stone, aye. Wagner?
Aye.
Wagner, aye. Alejo?
Aye.
Alejo, aye. Chow? Chu?
Aye.
Chu, aye. Gallagher? Garcia? Aye. Garcia, aye. Holden?
Aye.
Holden, aye. Mainshine?
Aye.
Mainshine, aye. O'Donnell?
Aye.
O'Donnell, aye.
All right. It is out. Thank you. Next we have Mr. Gatto. So AB 139, which is our item number 4. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members. On first glance, Assembly Bill 139 might seem a little bit tedious or on a subject that is not that interesting, but I can tell you with a straight face that this bill is probably one of the most important things that we can do for our middle class and working class constituents in the state of California this year. Right now, as the committee knows, if you want to transfer any asset upon your death, for just about any asset now in California, you can do it in an easy fashion. If you want to transfer your car, for example, you can fill out a form with the DMV that comes right with your car. It's part of the pink slip that says, upon my death, I want this car transferred to so-and-so. The same applies, of course, to a retirement account of any size, a multi-million-dollar bank account, a multi-million-dollar retirement account, a multi-million-dollar stock portfolio. All of these things have what's called transfer on death, payable on death, or so-called Totten trusts that attach to them that allow you to transfer this property outside of probate. There is, however, one major exception. That exception is houses. It's one of the few assets anymore that cannot be transferred outside of probate, and therefore millions, literally millions of American families have to go out there and hire an attorney and pay to create this legal fiction of a living trust. And it's usually just to pass that one asset, a home. So if again, you think of the typical family, or maybe the not-so-typical family, who has a small retirement or a pension, that can be passed with a payable on death provision in the pension. If they have a bank account, the minute that they sign up for that bank account at Bank of America, Wells Fargo, they can fill out a form that says, upon my death, transfer this bank account to my children, to my spouse. That applies to their cars, to all of these things in California, but it does not apply for a piece of real estate. This bill would adopt in California what I think is becoming a trend. 25 other states have adopted this payable upon death deed provision. What is a payable upon death deed? It's a deed that you fill out with all the formalities of a traditional deed. It has to be notarized. It has to be signed in the presence of a witness. It has to be recorded. And the deed simply says, when I die, I want my house to go to this person or that person. What are the safeguards in place for this? Well, there are many. First of all, it has all the safeguards of a traditional deed, all the safeguards of a quitclaim deed or any of the other deeds that people use to transfer property. Secondly, the recorders in California, and this is a point that should not be missed, the recorders in California send out these pieces of mail when one of these deeds has been recorded. And it just says a document has been recorded on your property. It notifies the homeowner that if they did not do it, to call the Department of Consumer Affairs or the registrar. And there's 2 mailings that go out in the average county. This process is very easy. I recently did it myself in the state of Arizona. It's an easy, safe process. It's something that I think we should bring to California. It's just illogical, and it's unfair, and it's an unfair burden on middle class and working class families to have to be able to they can pass their entire estate, but for that one last asset, they have to pay thousands of dollars, if not tens of thousands of dollars, to an attorney to get a trust. So I respectfully ask for your aye vote.
Thank you. Your witnesses and supports.
Good morning, Mr. Chair. Mr. Chair, members, I'm Brian Hebert. I'm the Executive Director of the Law Revision Commission. I'm here today just to help answer any questions you might have.
Thank you. Other witnesses in support.
Larry Doyle on behalf of the Conference of California Bar Associations. The conference has long been a supporter of this concept. We did so when Assemblymember Wagner had his last bill before the committee. Since that time, the number of states that have adopted revocable transfer on trust death deeds has doubled. There is still no evidence that can be found that this is a problematic situation or that it opens up any issues of fraud. As a matter of fact, just as an attorney who has practiced trust and estate law, if I were looking to try to create a fraudulent situation, I would definitely go with trust rather than this, because it would be far easier to take advantage of a vulnerable senior under those circumstances. This is a growing trend. It's a very important, as Assemblymember Gatto has expressed, and I strongly urge the committee's support for the bill.
Thank you. Next witness.
I'm Gerald Richards, and I'm here representing the California Senior Legislature. We strongly support this bill for the reasons that Mr. Doyle just stated. I myself worked for a number of years as a volunteer attorney with senior legal services in Contra Costa County, and I encountered a large number of seniors whose only asset was the home, and they were quite unable and in many cases reluctant to consult an attorney about anything. And none of them were ever able to understand why you can't just fill out a beneficiary statement and transfer your house.
Thank you. Thank you. Any other witnesses in support?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, members, David Wolf here with the Howard Jarvis Taxpayers Association. We too have been long supporters of this proposal and do believe it does simplify the transfer of real property, which is important, especially for elderly residents. We think this is a great bill and would ask for your support.
Thank you. Any other witnesses in support? All right, witnesses in opposition. Come forward, please. Morning.
Morning, Mr. Chair, committee members. My name is Craig Page. I'm with the California Land Title Association. We do show as formal opposition on the bill, but are working with the author of the bill to work out the concerns that the industry has about fraud, and we'll be working with, hopefully, with some amendments on the bill. And at this point, we will be neutral in working with the author.
Thank you.
Good morning, Mr. Chair and members. Lexi Howard with the California Escrow Association, echoing the sentiments of Craig Page. We have some concerns with regard to some of the technical matters in the bill, and we're working with that. Would also like to thank your committee staff for their fine analysis and work on this bill.
Thank you. Any other opposition or neutral?
Thank you, guys.
Thanks. All right, seeing none, I'll bring it back to the committee. Committee questions. Mr. Gallagher?
First of all, I want to thank the member for bringing forward this legislation. I do some estate planning in my law practice, and I always thought it was kind of frustrating at times when you had property that either wasn't transferred to the trust prior to death, or just people that never did do that estate planning beforehand. But now you have to go through this more complex, either a probate. Sure. Or there is a procedure, small estates procedure, but it's only, I think, for property up to $150,000. I commend you on bringing this forward. I think this could be a good way to allow for those transfers. On the issue that's raised by the Land and Title Association, could one way of dealing with that is just say that the last recorded trust deed would prevail over any other ones recorded previously? I mean, have there been any ideas on how to deal with that situation? If you had multiple recorded on one property, there could be confusion over title.
Sure. Yeah, we will work with them very closely. I respect the neutrals or the opponents very much, and have a good relationship with them. We're going to work with them to work through that issue and any other potential issues. We want to, of course, keep the certainty in the title insurance process, and we also want to reduce the possibility of fraud. One of the ideas that has come up, of course, is some sort of presumption. Obviously, if somebody does this on their deathbed or something, there's already presumptions that exist for a lot of the estate planning industry. But one of the things that was pointed out, which I think was an excellent point, is arguably the estate planning instrument that is most subject to fraud is the trust. It's ironically, it's the thing that most people turn to pass their real property, because as we all know, if a trust specifies that an amendment can be done by the trustor, all that person has to do is go in there. Well, all that anybody has to do is go in there and handwrite something and saying, this is a trust amendment, I give my whole property to blah, blah, blah. And that happens. I mean, that happens. I know several instances where that has happened, where there's been an allegation of fraud within a trust. So we actually think this, by being a deed, something certain, something that has to be notarized, something that has to be recorded, something that is mailed then to the actual person who allegedly recorded it, that there will be a lot of certainty in the process. But we will work with them to work through all the kinks and make sure that this process adopts the best practices that have been used in the 25 other states that use it. Thank you.
Mr. Gallagher? I'm sorry, Mr. Wagner?
Oh, just briefly, thank you for bringing this forward. I think it solves a lot of problems, obviously. I'm a fan of the bill, having tried it before. Your problem, I think, will not be in this House. It'll be in the Senate, where this bill has died a number of times. So I wish you all...
I'm knocking on some wood now, and it is St. Patrick's Day, so I need
all
some,
the luck
Mr. Gallagher, I need some luck, so thank you. Thank you.
The folks who have gone neutral, you've said you've got a great relationship with them. I mean, I know in some bills that I've worked with them, they are very accommodating and eager to work towards getting some good legislation. So I'll just add, I encourage you to work with them so that your path is smoother in the Senate. Wish you all the luck in the Senate.
Thank you.
And with that, I'll move the bill if there's not a motion.
Thank you.
So we do have a motion. Is there a second? Second. So there's a second. Mr. Mainshine?
Mr. Carter, just a quick question. I'm in support of the bill. By doing this, would this take the value of your home out, delete it for income tax purposes towards the total, towards the total estate value?
So you're asking whether this would somehow void the $5 million estate tax?
Yeah.
I don't think there's anything anybody can do to do that.
Well, does this count as part of the value of your estate, or is it past?
Yeah.
It does.
Yeah,
Okay.
it does.
Yeah.
It does. I mean,
I'm supportive of the bill. It's a great bill. I was just curious.
Death and taxes.
Yeah.
I mean, can't avoid them.
Yeah.
But thank you.
If you could come up with a bill on the avoidance of death,
I'd run for Congress to do it. Thank you.
That'd be great. I'll co-author that one.
Thank you.
Yeah, it just removes it for probate purposes, but certainly not for tax purposes.
Well, and just to follow up, the reality is this bill, more often than not, overwhelmingly is going to apply to the lower estates anyway.
For
Folks
sure.
with those sorts of assets are going to have other vehicles in place. So.
For sure. That's true.
That's true. Other committee questions? Seeing none, Mr. Gatto, you may close.
I respectfully ask for an aye vote.
Thank you. We do have a motion and a second. Call the roll, please.
Stone?
Aye.
Stone, aye. Wagner?
Aye.
Wagner, aye. Alejo? Aye. Alejo, aye. Chow? Chu?
Aye.
Chu, aye. Gallagher?
Aye.
Gallagher, aye. Garcia?
Aye.
Garcia, aye. Holden?
Aye.
Holden, aye. Mainshine?
Aye.
Mainshine, aye. O'Donnell?
Aye.
O'Donnell.
And that was due pass as amended to appropriations. So you're
Thank you very much.